Welcome to the Wellness Lab Digest. I'm Vince.
And I'm Hayes.
We distill life-changing insights from top wellness experts into bite-sized, science-backed episodes that fit your real life. If you're into quick, practical tools for better health, hit that subscribe button now and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what's coming next. And don't forget to check the description below for links to our trusted sponsors and ways you can support the show. Now, let's feed your mind and fuel your day.
Here's something that'll blow your mind. Studies show that the average successful entrepreneur fails 3.8 times before finally making it big. But what happens in those moments of rejection is what separates the success stories from the could-have-beens.
That's such a fascinating statistic. And you know what makes it even more interesting? Research shows that 92% of people who achieve their long-term goals have faced at least one major rejection along the way.
Well, speaking of rejection stories, I recently came across this incredible data about Thomas Edison. He failed over 1,000 times before successfully inventing the light bulb. When a reporter asked him how it felt to fail 1,000 times, he said, "I didn't fail 1,000 times. The light bulb was an invention with 1,000 steps."
That's such a powerful reframing of failure. You know, neuroscience actually backs this up. Studies show that people who view rejection as feedback rather than failure have significantly different brain activity patterns.
Tell me more about that research. What exactly happens in our brains?
Well, it's fascinating. Researchers found that rejection activates the same areas of our brain as physical pain. The anterior insula and anterior cingulate cortex light up, just like they would if we'd been physically hurt.
That explains so much about why rejection feels so awful. I mean, I recently pitched this huge idea at work, spent weeks preparing, and when it got shot down, it felt like I'd been punched in the stomach.
Oh no, how did you handle that?
Well, here's where it gets interesting. Instead of giving up, I started keeping what I call a rejection journal. Every time I face rejection, I write down 3 things: what happened, what I learned, and what I'm going to do differently next time.
That's such an innovative approach. Have you noticed any patterns emerging from your journaling?
You know what's fascinating? I've noticed that about 80% of my rejections led to something better. Like that work pitch, I went back to the drawing board and came up with an even better solution that ended up saving the company twice as much money.
That reminds me of this research from Harvard Business School. They found that entrepreneurs who had previously failed were 50% more likely to succeed in their next venture compared to first-time entrepreneurs.
Right. And that's probably because failure teaches you things success never can. I was reading about this experiment called 100 Days of Rejection, where this guy named Jia Jiang deliberately sought out rejection every day.
Now that sounds like my worst nightmare. What kind of rejections are we talking about?
Oh man, he did everything from asking strangers if he could plant flowers in their backyard to requesting burger refills at restaurants. But here's the wild part. People said yes way more often than he expected, and when they said no, it wasn't nearly as devastating as he'd feared.
That's such a powerful example of how our fear of rejection is often worse than the rejection itself. Psychologists call this impact bias. We consistently overestimate both the intensity and duration of negative emotions.
Exactly. And speaking of psychology, there's this concept called rejection sensitivity that researchers have identified. People with high rejection sensitivity tend to see rejection where it doesn't exist and react more intensely when it does happen.
That makes me think about how social media might be affecting our relationship with rejection. I mean, we're constantly exposed to everyone's highlight reels.
Oh man, that's such a good point. Studies show that social media users are 2.7 times more likely to experience anxiety about rejection compared to non-users. It's like we're creating this perfect storm of rejection sensitivity.
And yet, some of the most successful people in history faced massive rejection, like Walt Disney being fired for lacking imagination. I mean, talk about ironic.
Right. Or Stephen King's first novel, Carrie, being rejected 30 times. He actually threw it in the trash, and his wife had to fish it out and convince him to try again. That book went on to launch his entire career.
That's incredible. What do you think makes some people able to persist through rejection while others give up?
Well, research suggests it comes down to something called explanatory style. Basically, how we explain rejection to ourselves. People who see rejection as temporary and specific think this particular idea didn't work, tend to be more resilient than those who see it as permanent and universal. I'm just not good enough.
That makes so much sense, and it's something we can actually work on changing, right?
Absolutely right. Studies show that resilience can be developed through what psychologists call deliberate practice. It's like building a muscle. You need to expose yourself to small rejections and gradually work your way up.
You know what's interesting? Research shows that people who actively seek out small rejections report a 40% decrease in fear of rejection within just 2 weeks.
Those numbers are fascinating. And here's another surprising stat. Companies that encourage risk-taking and treat failure as learning opportunities are 34% more likely to see rapid growth compared to those with punitive attitudes toward failure.
That really shows how our relationship with rejection can impact not just individual success, but organizational success too.
Looking ahead, what do you think this means for how we should be approaching rejection, both personally and professionally?
Well, based on all the research we've discussed, it seems clear that we need to start seeing rejection not as a roadblock, but as a redirect, maybe even as a necessary part of any success story.
You know what? That might be the perfect way to wrap this up. Every rejection is just a redirect to something better, whether that's a better idea, a better approach, or sometimes even a better path altogether.
And remember, if you're not getting rejected sometimes, you're probably not aiming high enough.
Thanks for tuning in to the Wellness Lab Digest. If this episode helped you, here are 3 quick ways to support the show. 1. Subscribe to stay updated with fresh, body-loving wellness insights. 2. Share this episode with a friend who needs this today. 3. Comment below and tell us what topics you'd love to hear next. Want to do even more? Check the video description for ways to support the show. Stay curious, stay well, and we'll see you in the next episode.